welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis, and in today's episode, we will go over some Tesla news. I was actually going to make today's video eviscerating this Forbes article bashing Tesla by a guy named John Collins. Definitely still going to make that video, but it'll probably be in the next day or two. There was some interesting news today, so I think this will take precedence. I hope all of you guys had a really nice weekend and your week is off to a good start. As always, thank you to all of our patrons. I really appreciate the monetary support. It definitely helps my wife and I as we navigate this new venture that is YouTube, so we appreciate you guys. But with that said, getting right into the news, over the weekend, Green the Only, who if you're not familiar is a famous Tesla hacker, he released some news about the internal camera on the Tesla cars that are monitoring certain driver functions. Now, this is important long-term for the driver monitoring system when it comes to full self-driving, because in places like Europe, I believe it's sometime around 2022 or thereafter, where they will have to have a driver monitoring system in the cars. Specifically, as you see on the screen, this is the tweet. So he got into the system and these are all of the things that the cameras are now monitoring. So people always ask, what is head trunk? It just means head truncated. So think of like the head being out of the field of view of the camera. If someone is leaning down or leaning to the side, something along those lines. There were a lot of people saying they're going to go out to their cars and put tape over the interior camera for privacy, and of course you can understand that. But at this point, we don't really know for sure what Tesla has planned with this new monitoring system. Obviously, they are developing something using this camera, and at some point, I would imagine it would be useful. But for now, they are most likely just collecting data and testing. It could be just preparing for that European market, but it's likely that in all markets with full self-driving, driver monitoring will be a big deal. And there are other driver assist systems like this on the market. For example, GM Super Cruise, that basically is there to make sure that people are paying attention while the car is driving on its own in some capacity. Moving on to one of the most shocking news items for the day and in quite some time for Tesla is the Model Y that was apparently recently purchased by a Reddit user, and on the drive home, the roof literally flew off the car. So this obviously is not good, and it is my responsibility to report all of the news and to discuss things like this. Of course, to date, Tesla has had issues with quality control as they've been so hyper-focused on growth and doing that at a rate that sometimes you're going to make sacrifices, and some of those sacrifices have been in the quality control department. Now, that being said, things like paint and panel gaps and all of that, of course, they're important, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not critical errors, I would say, but they're things that with time, Tesla will get better, and they have. Now, things like this, where a glass roof flies off on the highway, this is not okay, and I'll be the first person to say that because we're talking actual lives at stake. Now, there wasn't much information in terms of like what happened when the roof flew off. They didn't say a whole lot. They just said the glass roof flew off, but they said they didn't know if it caused an accident. So I don't know, when something like that happens, how would you not turn around and look to see what's going on? Or did the glass shatter? Were there cars behind them? Like, there was no information given. So hopefully, I'm assuming we'll get more information at some point, but the Reddit user was inactive for a few hours after the original post, so we'll have to wait and see. Now, of course, long term, this won't have much material impact on the company, but it will most likely receive a lot of negative press in the short term. As far as the stock price goes, right now, I'll just double check. It's actually up on the day. It's up, almost 3% as of about 3:30 p.m. So, the market's not terribly concerned about it, but yeah, you'll definitely see some concerns. And as I said, this is something that Tesla obviously needs to get a handle on. No company is perfect. All companies have some level of quality control problems, but this is a big one, and this is unfortunate. And I mean, think about it. If that was you and you just bought a brand new Tesla and that happened to you, it's not great. So anywho, long term, nothing major material, but definitely a big no-no for Tesla. And this type of thing should not be happening at this point. Now, if you want the actual context, the Reddit post said, when we got back, we called Highway Patrol to tell them there was a car roof somewhere on 580, but somebody might have gotten into an accident, not sure. Manager at the dealership said either the seal for the roof was faulty or the factory just forgot to seal the roof on. I can't imagine how something as big as the roof not being attached could make it past quality control. Has this ever happened before? Edit, the manager offered to get the car serviced for free, but we declined and are probably going to get an entirely new car. Whether we're still getting a Tesla is up to my dad, but probably not. This was apparently, and so this was the son of the dad that bought the car that made the post and is saying this. Said also, I know the photos are low quality. I basically never post anything, so I didn't even think about getting proof until the last minute, and I don't have anything better. You can believe what you want, but there should be some news articles coming out soon that prove things more definitively. So that was going to be my last point about this whole situation was, of course, I guess there could be foul play, which some people are arguing, but why would you go through the trouble of having your roof fly off just to get some media press coverage? I mean, yeah, sure, short sellers getting desperate, yada, yada, but this doesn't feel like one of those situations. So we will continue to monitor it, but good to know. Shifting into some good news for Tesla, a longtime Tesla bear, Ryan Brinkman from JP Morgan, has increased his price target for Tesla. So we'll get into the details of that. MarketWatch article says analyst Ryan Brinkman at JP Morgan, who has had an underweight rating on Tesla stock for at least the past 3 years, raised his price target to, get this, $75, which is 82% below Friday's closing price of $415 from his previous stock price, $65 per share. He also raised his 2020 adjusted earnings per share estimate to $1.95 from $1.80 and his 2021 estimate to $2.50 from $1.85 to account for third quarter deliveries data that exceeded his expectations. The FactSet EPS consensus is $1.81 for 2020 and $2.92 for 2021. He said, quote, we remain underweight rated on Tesla shares on what we see as lofty valuation coupled with higher investor expectations and high execution risk, end quote. Of the 37 analysts surveyed by FactSet, Brinkman is one of 11 who are bearish on Tesla's stock. There are actually, believe it or not, 2 other analysts with lower price targets, Andrei Zakharov at $60 and everybody's favorite, Gordon Johnson at $19 per share. Now, you guys know how I feel about these analyst price guesstimates. I don't put really any weight into them, but I think it's worthy of reporting. But I mean, come on. $19 a share from Gordon, $75 a share as an increase from this cat, Ryan Brinkman. I mean, what? So not worth any more energy or attention, but figured I would let you know. Now, my next video, most likely that will be eviscerating that Forbes article. He talks a lot about German numbers and Tesla's numbers and that how they're cratering market share over there. And guys, a couple of things. You can break down German delivery data in 1,000 different ways, and you can paint so many different pictures. We'll get into it. I'll keep my mouth shut on that for now, but I did want to share this little chart that I'll put up on the screen. So what you're looking at is September 2020 sales data. So every single brand was down year over year from September to September, except for Tesla. Specifically, Tesla grew 24% year over year in Germany. As I've said many times before, for Tesla to have any success in a market where they don't have local production is a massive feat. All of the import taxes and shipping logistics that Tesla is now dealing with to sell cars in Germany will be going away soon within the year with Giga Berlin. So more on that to come. But that being said, everyone else is struggling. Tesla is growing. Once again, you can cut this data 1,000 different ways, but this way is good. So we'll share it. Because I think that encapsulates the overall picture the best when you factor in everything going on. More to come. Shifting gears to the next news item, there's been a lot of talk about Tesla in India from this tweet that Elon had a few days ago. Now, I want to say up front, this is still very much in the speculative stage. This is not a done deal as they are just in talks with the government in India, specifically the Karnataka government. Now, if you're not familiar, here is a map because this always helps me contextualize where the government is and where it falls in the grand scheme of things. And one other thing, so this EV environment in India, of course, there's major potential, but it is going to be a massive amount of work because there is no infrastructure there already, which means supercharging. And the general consensus from what I've read, obviously I'm not there, but from everything I've picked up on, A lot of the people are lukewarm when it comes to EVs because these cars have historically and would probably continue to be in a very luxury segment relative to the rest of the auto market. So I know there are many people in India, and if you're watching and you have any insight on how you feel about Tesla or what the market is really like there in India, please, I would love to hear from you and share it below. But like I said, just from everything that I've read, it's going to be an uphill battle for Tesla to have a real relevant major market share in India. Not that they can't, it's just going to take a lot of work and a lot of time and patience. So getting into what the article said, Karnataka government has offered Bengaluru as the destination for Tesla's Indian Gigafactory, and the company has already held preliminary discussions for a research and innovation unit in the city. The article continued to say that Bengaluru has a favorable ecosystem for EVs, and Tesla can leverage that. This potential Gigafactory would manufacture Tesla EVs and batteries, but talks, as I said, are very preliminary, and it's likely to be a long drawn process. So yes, it's seeming more and more likely that the next Gigafactory could be in India, which is great. I know there is some demand for Tesla there, but just temper your expectations. Let's wait and see and get more confirmation and see what actually materializes. So the last news item for today, it was a tweet from Sawyer Merritt, which I'll put on the screen now. He said, news, Deutsche Bank analyst Emmanuel Rosner recommends using the 7% sell-off from Friday in shares of Tesla as buying opportunity. Factoring in the better volumes, Rosner raised his Q3 revenue forecast from $8.2 billion to $8.5 billion. The analyst keeps a buy rating on Tesla. So those of you that watched my most recent video on the Tesla 2030 series talking about their revenue figures, I had the exact same estimate for Q3 revenue for Tesla this year. This was my prediction, exactly $8.5 billion in revenue. I also tweeted it out. So it's just nice to hear other people are in the same ballpark. It's not hard to get to that figure, and I broke down how I did it in that episode. So if you missed it, I will link it at the end of this video. Hopefully you get some value from that. But with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Tesla News. I'm actually really excited for my next video. I am for all of them, but this one, I'm looking forward to ripping this John Collins Forbes article apart. So make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for that if you're not already. Please like the video if you did. Consider subscribing for more Tesla content, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Hope you have a great day.